Okay, for today's lesson, we continue to work on finding equivalent fractions. Remember, equivalent fractions just means equal. But this time when we worked last week, we were working on multiplying to find equivalent fractions. This week, we were working on dividing to find equivalent fractions. So it says compose, which means create, the shaded fraction into larger fractional units. Express the equivalent fractions in a number sentence using division. The first one has been done for you. So you can see A as an example. We'll give you another example here. So we're going to look at first B, and we're going to look at what the original fraction is. So I know that I had 4 pieces originally shaded in, so that's my numerator, and there are 10 total pieces. So this piece equals 4/10. So I'm going to think about how I'm going to look at this and I'm going to think about how I can group these pieces together. We're going to rewrite that 4/10. And so I'm going to go through and I'm going to compose it, and I'm going to group 2 pieces together to make those equal pieces. So by doing that, I divided each of them into 2 groups, because there's 2 pieces in each group, which means now I have 2 shaded pieces and 5 total pieces. So this equation is 4/10 equals 2/5. Okay, so C and D are the same, and A and B for number 2 are the same. Then when we move over to the second side, it says 3 says draw an area model to represent each number sentence below. So what we start with is we start with the 6/15. So remember, our area model is a large rectangle. And the way I'm going to build it is I'm going to build it into 5 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And it doesn't matter how they build it. And I'm going to break it into 3 rows to get that 15, because 3 times 5 is 15. So now I'm going to shade in, and I'm going to shade them in lightly just so we can see it. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, to get to fifths, it says divided into 3/3. So divided into groups of 3. So I'm going to circle each group of 3. So here's 1 group of 3. Here's 2 groups of 3. Here's 3 groups of 3. Here's 4 groups of 3. Here's 5 groups of 3. So it shows that 2 of the full groups are shaded, and there are 5 total groups. Now, number 4 says use division to rename each fraction given below. Draw a model if that helps you. See if you can use the largest common factor. So we talked about first off by finding common factors. So we do that by listing out our factors of each number. So we list out the numbers. A factor is a number that can go into another number through multiplication. So my first factor pair of 8 is 1 and 8. Then I also know that 2 and 4 make 8. Now for 10, I know that 1 and 10 are my factors. This is my first factor pair. And then 2 and 5 are my second. So I'm going to look at which ones they have in common, which they have 1 in common, and they have 2 in common. So it says to use the largest common factor, which is 2. So we're going to start with that 8/10 out here. We're going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by 2. Because if we do 2/2, this is really the same as a whole, because there's 2 pieces and 2 of them are shaded. So we divide both by 2, and it gives us 8 divided by 2 equals 4, 10 divided by 2 equals 5. So this is the answer for 4A. B, C, and D are all the exact same. Just continue to work with this. Have a great night.